Boy, where'd you get this guy? Yeah, no, so.
It's Thursday.
You know, I don't know what I was up to. There was how.
Festival Italiano and
You don't
get early, like after that. That's true.
Yeah, you know, they don't take these.
It's amazing, like downtown Hurley, like they got like 17 bars downtown Hurley.
Yeah,
And they have like probably 20 food vendors and food trucks that are the festival. It's just-
Is it all Italian?
No, it's everything.
Oh,
I guess.
It's the Christian.
Yes. Yeah.
I think
That's all.
I didn't know if maybe she did it while I was on vacation. No, it's been quite a while. I'll have to look back to see how long it's been, but it's been a while. Morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Morning.
Morning, Rich. I
How
don't
are
know.
you? Fantastic.
Could have stayed around all day. Could have did field spreading test for everybody.
Yes.
I did shower.
Did you have a good turnout?
We did. I think we had about 25 people come
Okay,
Oh, there you go.
between staff and the community. Yeah.
that should be mandatory for every parent that has a kid in middle school and beyond.
Emily, I had something for you, but now I don't remember what it was now that I've seen you. Oh, ex partes.
Not ex partes.
Well, you're gonna have to do two.
Okay, that sounds super. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought you. I know exactly.
Just start throwing words at you this morning. Ex parte, Emily. Yeah, it's gonna be a while anyway, because huh?
1 minute.
No, it'll be. Oh, Emily. Yep. Yeah.
Oh.
It was a great experience. Like, just would not stop. Like,
It's honest. At least you.
and he said he always will be. Like, he's always going to be honest.
Okay, so then
After that.
after today's.
Yeah.
Kevin, in one spot, I was growing up the side, I had a convention. And it has a.
Oh,
Had him look it up, but it's all in door.
I forgot to mention to you, I came down to talk to you one day about this and we got sidetracked about how I wasn't included in the Jersey thing, but I'll get over that.
Every referral had hundreds.
So Forensic Fluids called me. They want to plan a get together or whatever to go over testing and all that other stuff. Like if we have any questions or anything like that.
We did the children and family every year, they go over like
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
trend.
Statistics and stuff like that. So we reached out to me. I said, well, we can work it so that we could get them all done both the same day or even together too. But I haven't talked to him then to see what would work best. So I will include you on the email then and just Rich is,
Yeah.
I'll send it to Rich.
Coordinate that, because his staff has to do it. The
Oh,
French.
I remember when I did special or policy, the special planner, and that had it for a week.
Good morning, everybody. It's 8 a.m. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hoorah! First item on the agenda this morning is the approval of the minutes. Has anybody had an opportunity to look at those from last month? And if so, is there any additions or corrections that need to be made? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve.
And do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. The first item on the agenda after that is recovery court status and grant application. Angie,
So yesterday we welcomed two more members to, or participants to the recovery court, so we are now up to 7. We have another one that's supposed to be starting next week. I believe that person gets sentenced next week. We don't have, at this time, we don't have court next week because of a jury trial. But that person, will eventually be starting here pretty soon. So that will leave us to 8. Group started through Family Health Center. They are doing that at Family Health Center. So far, so good. They seem to be enjoying them. They really don't say much about it, which I don't poke and prod from them, but they said they're enjoying them. They're doing them on Mondays and Fridays so far. As far as the grant, I just got the invitation to apply yesterday. So the grant just opened up yesterday evening. Judge Barna, myself, and Crystal Cleveland met on Monday just to kind of go over budget. And there really are nothing major that we're going to be requesting this year. One of the things that we will be adding is a I would say what part-time facilitator.
probably casual.
Casual part-time facilitator for our one recovery graduate that got her MRT facilitator. That way she can fill in when Rich is gone. So we have to add a line to the budget for that, to pay her for that. There will be also other things that she'll be able to do too, be like a clerical testing kind of thing. As far as that, there really aren't a lot of things that we have to change or request in regards to last year. So once we get all that going, then we'll be able to provide that. The grant isn't due until the end of October, so we still have another meeting or 2 before then, before we can go over everything and I can present with the whole group what exactly the grant will look like next year.
And we found out that
It is not a competitive year. So it should have been, but I don't know if because of all what's going on with all these financials, federal grant things, if they changed it, but it is not a competitive year this year. It seems like it's competitive for counties that are looking to get recovery court the first time, but not for existing recovery courts. So
Didn't that used to be every other year?
Every-
John?
5,
No, it was 3.
3 or,
This was a 5.
Yeah.
cycle, and so they extended it.
Okay. Any questions?
Is there anything in place for, as far as drug court goes, it's like, past graduates that, had been doing really exceptional and then may, let's say even like years past, graduates that, either law enforcement or attorneys or DHHS slipping, like we can put a word into your ear to see if you can contact them, or is that nothing that we can do?
We do encourage them to stay connected to treatment court, and the treatment court coordinators in the past have reached out to past graduates, so we can. We don't have any teeth, so to speak.
But what if law enforcement sees somebody that they know is a past graduate and was like doing exceptionally well in the community, and then all of a sudden they start slipping or, start having these calls for service that are, that I believe are like meth related?
is that something that if law enforcement comes in contact with them, they could just shoot me an email saying, hey, we came in contact with this person and this person may be slipping a little bit, so I can just like maybe nonchalantly be like, hey, I'm just contacting past graduates to see how things are going, or.
Well, that's why I'm asking if you can do that.
I mean, this is a pretty small community, so, and being, working previous in the jail, I'm familiar with quite a few people. So there are some people that I've run into,
Cause I got one person in mind and that's kind of back on our radar. It's been like 10 years.
So not on supervision.
No, like 6 to 8 years to go, probably a graduate. And they're back on kind of on our radar, and the calls for service are making me wonder if they're slipping, there's no concrete. proof
right,
there.
well, no, but there's, still
I
that,
hate to see them just, instead of slip, do the full slide and then get back to where they were.
Right.
Somebody could, come in and at least try to make contact. It may be worth a shot anyway.
Right.
Chief, there's a lot of information out there on, establishing an alumni program, which is something I'd like to see going on. I don't know if it would carry out the 10-year, but it would add a level of support, and the program would be run by past graduates of the drug court and carrying on forward like that, but it would continue the support with drug court for a period of time. And I have seen research on alumni programs that they've kept running for a long period of time, up to 10 years. So that may be something that we want to look into, and it would be incumbent on us to probably just get that started and then hand it over to the graduates to say, here, it's for you to run it, probably on a level of NA or something of that nature, but it'd be graduates of drug court that are actually running it going forward. So
I mean, I would love to be the ability to reach out to any of them and, just be like, hey, how's it going? But I don't know how we would do that, but like I said, there are some that I still see that every once in a while I try to, yeah.
if that requirements for participation, post-graduation.
Well, so far I've only had there's only been the one graduate since I've started, and she's here quite often. She was just here
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. And then she drops in and sees me. She'll submit to tests. She comes in quite often. She hasn't completely fallen off the radar. She was actually here last week for a potluck. So yeah.
They'd have to attend court, they'd have to speak. They'd have to address the issue of continuing sponsorship, because all of our people were required to have a sponsor. And I think especially the most dangerous time typically is that first 1 to 2 years after graduation. So that at least kept us in contact with those folks. Plus we had, I'd say, at least once, twice every quarter, we would have former graduates just drop in.
Yeah.
And they participate in the discussions and stuff. That was very helpful for our people that were just in the program and haven't graduated yet. Because they could address some of the issues that, well, here's some of the things you need to look out for after you graduate. And some of the opportunities. And a lot of our graduates became sponsors. And that's how they stayed connected with our group that was in treatment. So just a thought.
Yeah. We see that our previous graduate, we see her a lot. I don't even think it's been once a month, every couple of weeks, she's in court with everybody. She sits down at my desk and we, just chit chat. And so she's been pretty visible since she graduated.
Was it informal? Yeah, but our coordinator would make sure that they knew that they had to come 4 times and they would get dates from them as to when they were gonna show up.
Well, what we,
And those kinds of things. And I appreciate we've only had one graduate in the last year or so, but we've had more than that. So there's arguably a number of folks out there, maybe the folks from the folks that the chief was talking about. And just that connection is important. That's all I'll say.
and I'm sorry for almost interrupting. So what we could do, we've talked about this before, about having this aftercare program, this continuation after graduation, and our issue has always been, we don't have any teeth. Is what are we going to do? Terminate them from the drug court they have graduated from,
Right.
they are no longer in. But all of our graduates continue to be on probation following their graduation. And it could be that instead of setting a requirement of the report, we have a probation review hearing, which would be a requirement for them to come back at least 3 months after the graduation, so we could check in. Which,
And we have
Has some
probation send them back to us when they have relapsed, but just come to drug court one time. We used to have a 6-month, phase after graduation, and then the manager told us that we couldn't do that anymore for some reason. And that's why we started looking at the alumni more as a sort of ongoing than anything, but I like the idea.
Chief, do you think that longer time frame? I mean, in this particular individual, was there a life change that occurred that prompted that?
Well, I don't know what I don't know that. I just saw the calls and I didn't have contact, but I mean, I know that this person that graduated was probably, let's see. It was probably 6 or 8 years ago. It was probably one of our, if we're not one of our first ones, but one of our real good success stories, I would say. And I know that they were doing really well in the community because I had seen them, out and about with their, their family or whatever. And now just recently I've seen like 3 or 4 calls for service, and talking to one of the officers, they said that this person was definitely off. So I'm just putting 2 and 2 together. There might be nothing. It might be just a coincidence, but the calls for service where, like people are breaking in my shed, people are breaking in my garage. Here's showing the officer a picture. Look, there's a person right there. There's nobody there. They slashed all my tires on the car. The car tires are not slashed. It's either a mental health issue or just my history. There's a lot of meth calls for service like that.
The reason I asked is I had contact with a court graduate from another county not long ago. And they'd been graduated like 8 years and ended up getting divorced and went back to using again for a short period of time, got back into a NA program after that and got straightened out, but it prompted their use again.
We can reach out if you want.
Yeah, I'll get into that.
Yeah, and then we can just kind of look and see.
I think it's really a good thing to be thinking about, because the earlier you intervene in somebody slipping, the easier it is to get them back on track.
An alumni program would have some merit for that because it would be facilitated by former graduates. So, that's been one of the things I'd like to see before I leave forever and ever, but I'd like to see it get up and going. So anybody that's interested in helping out with that, reach out to me and we'll see if we can get something moving forward. So. Anything else on recovery card grant application? Next item is jail.
No, I think Ashley.
I'm sorry.
I have a question.
Okay.
So we're talking about having somebody come in and do MRT and stuff. Do we have to go through the whole county process of creating a new position and all that
So
stuff?
what we're gonna do, we have a resolution for an LTE clerical and drug testing person. And we're gonna add that to it, the information to that job description, so it kind of all encompasses, we don't have to go through.
Gotcha. Okay.
10
Just
months.
wanted to, yeah, just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
That's.
Yeah, and we've kind of already drew,
Because I could tie it up for another year.
yeah,
Absolutely.
to 1 year in 6 or 7 different committees. And, yeah, but we've kind of already drew that up and went, passed it around a meeting. And the other day when we met with Crystal, we discussed a rate of pay. So I just have to go find that resolution and then give it to Ashley Godis and go see what,
No, just the job description.
yeah, that's what it was.
What we want to talk about too is because I would like Marie or whoever gets the job, assuming Marie, to come in for the monthly
Oh, fidelity.
call also, because that is significantly enhances the program going forward.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
Tom, sorry.
Okay, so for the month of August, it looks like we had 45 intakes as of yesterday afternoon. 37 were released over this month. Our current population is 20, inmates, 2 are female, 18 male. We do have a female out on EMP out in the community right now, and another male that was transferred to another county to serve as sentence on their EMP. Currently 11 are sitting on bond, 4 are being held for probation, and 5 are serving sentences.
Would,
Pretty moderate. That's right.
No revocations.
There's the ones on probation will facing revocation, as far as I know.
Oh, did you?
Oh, wait, no, Mr. Fuller is facing revocation at this time. He had a sanction.
Nope, don't see her.
It was terminated and then he was placed back on a longer sanction.
would you enlighten us on the county board meeting a little bit, same line?
The county board meeting from Tuesday,
Yeah,
at this time, they're not seeking bonding. So we're at standstill. If that, or we'll see.
how does that affect us as far as jail regulations and that type of thing? Can we continue to operate with status quo or?
Yeah.
All right. Progress on Huber, Jack or Tom, whoever.
I'll defer to Tom because Tom, had there was a general meeting that we had and, Tom spoke to the sheriff and the sheriff then, made some determinations and Tom, can you?
So what we determined with the question on the Huber EMP, was how are we gonna deal with Buddy Guide's second, thirds and fourths moving forward to try and make it more amenable for recovery court. After having our meeting and speaking with the sheriff, we determined that anybody that's on second or third, there's not gonna be a requirement for amount set. They'll just have to stay overnight or until a monitor can be arranged. As for fourth, we dropped the 50% requirement for people who arrange to be on recovery court.
What's the 50% requirement?
So previously, it was determined that people on OWI fourth or higher would sit 50% of their time incarcerated before being available to go out on EMP monitoring. It's very unlikely that somebody who sits 3 to 6 months in the jail will be able to get their job back. So for the purposes of moving forward in a ethical manner, if you will, we kind of decided that for fourth, we would have the same requirements as 2 and 3, as long as the person is enrolled in recovery court. They just stay the night, or if it's the weekend, because we can't get monitoring on until Monday, they will stay until they're hooked up. They will be monitored through the jail because it's kind of a requirement since they're serving time for the county. We will do the monitoring during that time. They will be under both our rules and the rules of drug court. However, the sobriety portion, while they're with the jail, is 100%. They do not get to have a sweat while they're in cover.
How would they be sober track monitoring also there?
Yes, so for those who are on recovery court, they will have their location tracked and be under sober tracks, and we can always set that up with the general is 3 times a day. And go forward from there. If they need further, they can also follow whatever requirements Ange would like to,
It's
easy
Easy to adjust and,
Yeah, we can always adjust per person.
What's the cost of that?
For EMP, right now it's through some monitoring still, so it'll be just like it was $450 per setup and $25 a day. They have to prepay 2 weeks ahead of time with some monitoring, and that's just who we contract with. I did get a quote yesterday from Madeline. So I sent that to the sheriff yesterday. It was like $1,350 per monitor. And the same for each sober track device. But for the first year, we won't pay any fees for service of any device that's activated, so Guess we'll see how he feels about that, if we purchase those devices or not, go forward with us taking over AMP.
So will that be the same cost
Oh,
as Sun Monitor?
it would be the $25 that we haven't really set up anything because we have to choose if we're gonna purchase this equipment or not. And as of just getting the quote yesterday, we really don't have any hard numbers. I'm guessing that he would charge less for the hookup, but keep it at $25 a day. Because that's pretty reasonable.
It is reasonable, I'll say that, I believe that it is, but it is going to include the majority of our participants. And we don't require that they work in phase one. Because they have to focus on being sober and do all of the treatment. So then the treatment really now groups Monday, Friday, drug court, Wednesday, their one-on-ones during the week really precludes them from having a job in the first shift anyway, so that limits their employment, their history limits their employment. All of our participants are on aftercare. Not many of them do work in the first phase, so.
They try. They
some of
try
them
to,
work, yeah.
but then realize that it's too much.
I mean, it is what it is. So that's-
Is that something we could add to the grant?
What?
Just like a budget for electronic monitoring, we're anticipating having at least one or two persons on the OWI monitor.
We have that.
Okay.
There is secures monitoring in the grant.
Okay.
We budgeted,
But that's on.
that's our monitoring.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't budget. No, we can't. Yeah.
That was one of my.
Cause I already asked that. I asked Marcia that if we would be able to do that, like sublease them to them, and she said absolutely not.
Judge,
Yeah, let's wait.
Yeah.
But they told us in the past that, so we can have our own and we can monitor, but the statute says it has to either be sheriff's department or probation for them to get the house arrest credit. So this is specific to the fifth offense.
Mhm.
whatever, so I don't know.
So I think, when I was doing the research on this issue, I agree for the fourth offense that they need to be in custody per the escape statute, under the custody of the sheriff or jail, whatever. But prior to sentencing, it's the court determination of what sentence credit would be. And so if it's on the fifth we're just looking at, the court could find that any time spent on our treatment court monitors qualifies for credit on the fifth, and that I don't have that case. Right. But that's a specific case.
That's
a pre-sentencing. Well, so that case, I would argue, post-sentencing, yes. You only receive credit for days spent in custody or care of the sheriff. However, pre-sentencing, the determination is entirely made by the court. And so it's up to the court to determine what sentence credit is entitled pre-sentencing. And that's the case from the 90s.
Judge Stewart had a question.
Too quick one. You were talking about OWI sport. You talking about a Uber program that's only for those convicted of operating.
No, our Huber program, this was the conversation for the modification to get people who have OWIs and probably addiction problems, to get them into recovery court. The regular Huber program would apply to general sentencing, as we already have that, but this was just modifications to those rules already put in place.
Previous policy was nothing over a third.
Yeah, it was, well, it had said 25% per second, and I think third was 50%, and we didn't,
Fourths weren't
even optional. It was something they decided, so we modified that to make it more amenable.
Everyone is potentially, serving is potentially has access to Uber.
So
Is that
people sentenced to the jail, and if the judge puts Huber on their judgment of conviction because she deems it something that they can do as long as they don't have any restrictions. Violent offenses, and they don't, there's a couple of limiting offenses that wouldn't make them available from our standards, but if they are sentenced, they have no outstanding warrants or rules from other counties, and they're serving their time in the jail, and they quit those. They just serve you for theft. All right, well, come in, get hooked up, you have a job, great, go out in the community, do your job, you're on house arrest.
So
They go on that monitoring.
let me get this here. If they're sentenced for any crime to county jail time, they are potentially have the right to request Uber. You only grant it if the judge provides for it.
So
The reason I'm saying this, because that is actually at the discretion of the sheriff. The judge,
I just say eligible.
Yes.
eligible,
Yeah.
but even if she says they're eligible, doesn't mean that they get Uber, but that's up to the judge. Even if you say they're not eligible, excuse me, it's up to the jail. It's not the ultimate responsibility to determine that is with the jail. So, but not to the monetary stuff. Okay, if it's gonna be $25 a day for monitor. Then
this is set by Sun Monitoring, it's placed in
I
contract.
I just want to deal with the numbers, okay? Because it's 25. Do you then charge an additional Uber fee like every county I know does? Typically, they're anywhere from $18 to $20 a day, which does not cover monitoring. It's just for the privilege of being released,
So
which puts it up. If you do that, I don't know.
we don't have in and out Huber. We're not gonna utilize our space that way. Just because of the restrictions our jail right now has with classifications and the way it's set up. We contract with them, these are their prices, they do the $25 a day and their setup fee. We don't charge an additional fee for them once they're out on Sunday Monitoring's program. They do the monitoring, they do the testing if they have elko sensors. The fees go to them. I think $5 comes back to the department for their, what would normally be their daily housing fee. But the rest of it's some contract.
And how much of their prior jail costs are going to pay before they're eligible for the Uber?
Want to say it's 25% of any fees they already owe the county. Any debt that's owed to the county, they have to pay up 25% before they go in that program. And that is explained to them, as long as they come and get our paperwork and get their explanation for how.
From the past.
Yes, and they're what they call is trip debt. So it's anything that they owe from past incarceration. Some of them are, most of them, if they're employed, that's not an issue. The issue is for those who have been incarcerated many times and have never made any attempt to pay off their past debt. So you have somebody who has $600 in debt, they come in, they pay their $125 because they have a job. For those who have $10,000 in debt, they're probably not gonna be able to get out on Huber. I mean, unless they can somehow pay off $2,500 before they go on that program.
Tom, when they're out on Uber, obviously, we're not paying meal costs. What do our meals cost per person a day?
So actually, it's more beneficial that they be over here because our meal cost is $21 a day for inmate or $7 per meal. Actually, it's a little bit more than that's per meal, the sense of that. So that's a good thing when they're out there. They're doing their own thing.
So we're looking at $150 a week. Just to, to keep them in jail, basically.
Yep.
Cause then we're paying 7 days a week. No.
My concern is that it just, with those parameters, it's gonna be economically unfeasible for a lot of folks to even consider Uber. So they stay out of the labor market, and then when they're released 3 months, 6 months later, their employment possibilities are nil, or very close to that. I just think we've got too many economic barriers, and I know you don't set the policy, but that, I've seen some numbers on some of these people that are in jail, and there's no way in God's green earth they're gonna go out and make $10 a day minus taxes, minus child support, whatever, and have enough to pay whatever it charged or whatever it costs for them to be an Uber. And, you know, it's like our, the program we have for people who are convicted of OWI. Yeah, we've still got one as far as I know on paper, but nobody's ever been able to afford it except a couple of people who have a lot of money over the 10 years I've been on this group. And so, in fact, you don't have that program. So those economic barriers, one of the things we used to do is we didn't say, okay, come up with 25% or 50% of your prior jail fees. We'll take that out of what you earn on a weekly basis, so you get paid every time. We'll take out X towards those old fees. Okay, which gave them the incentive to go to work, to earn money, to pay those kinds of things. So I think we just have to be real careful, because I would ask you right now, and again, I'm not faulting you or blaming you or anything, but how many people do you have on Uber today? They're all working.
One person's out on EMP monitoring right now, and one's in another county serving on EMP monitoring.
So it's just something that's not available financially, in my opinion, to a lot of people. And I know what happens when people sit incarcerated and stay out of that labor market. The longer they sit there playing cards or whatever it is they do, the more difficult it is for them to get working when they do get out. They learn some bad habits. They fall further behind on their other financial obligations like child support. And it's just this revolving door. And so that's just my concern.
So how do we resolve that?
Well, Chase, you have to have a policy that allows for those kinds of things so that it's economically feasible for anybody to be able to do it. Oh,
I would like to say that of the people who are currently incarcerated and the 2 on monitoring, only 7, 2 of them on monitoring, and the other 5 are even available because they're serving sentence. And I don't know which of the 5 are. I think there's 2 or 3 of them that have Huber on their JOCs.
But some would be ineligible due to the nature of their convictions, right?
Yeah, there's limitations, like a lot of sex offenses or violent crimes are said, no, you don't get to go back on. Severe, and then we have a list of them. So
So the way other counties have gotten around this is, for example, Barron has a pilot program right now where they front the payments for the EMP program. They demonstrate they have a job, they get signed up, Barron pays for the setup in first 2 weeks, and it's expected with the first paycheck that cost will be paid back, at least partially, perhaps through a payment plan, throughout the other costs. Is that something that is possible?
anything's possible.
So
That's probable.
as,
Probable about there. Well, I wanna say, sorry, just because the economic differences, that's
Right.
often brought up as.
I mean, Barron gets a lot of taxes. Rice Lake, Turtle Lake, everything. We don't have that.
Do they have in and out humor? No, I have.
No, Barron is exclusive of EMP.
Yeah, a lot of.
A lot of places are now.
I go in there exclusively because it's just
Staffing.
Yeah.
understaffed. And now as the state really cracks down on the classifications that we talked about, it really eats up that space that.
I look at that $21 a day, 7 days a week, times the 5 people you have in right now who could be out. That's amounting to a fairly good chunk of change from the initial fee. Can this group get together somehow or another, or we form a working group of some sort to see if we can develop a plan and work with the sheriff or Tom on that to alleviate some of those fees or defer them or something of that nature, so that we can get the 5 people that we've got right now out the door and get them gainfully employed and save us.
Are those 5 people, were they working before they came in? You know, it's,
So like the one that showed up this week, who had opportunity to be prepared, chose not to be prepared,
right,
and kind of put us in a bind, and you.
yep,
Like, and then there's another male that his particular sentence has the 50% requirement. So was he employed? He says he's self-employed. But now he's past that 6 months portion, but he has chosen to.
Right.
And we don't allow them to do like job search, but we will provide them with anything for applications. And if somebody says, yeah, we'd like to interview them, we will assist in getting them in contact with phone calls and however they want to do interviews within reason. Obviously, we're not bringing somebody into the facility, but we will allow them to interview with potential employers. And as long as they get employment, then we go forward from there. We had,
yeah, it's happened in the
it
past.
happens,
Yeah.
it happens. It makes our a really good job. The county drops off an application, or sometimes you have a previous employer say, hey, you know, Bill's a great roofer and he was employed with us in the past, I have a job. Great, let's do it. Let's figure this out. Mr. Netek, I don't know if you remember Jim, but you know, he got employed through Taylor County, so we actually arranged to get him, get his employment set up, get his transfer set up. Great. You have a job in Taylor, you were previously employed in Taylor, we can work this out. Taylor County said, yeah, we'll take him as long as he has a job. Boom, went down there, they had interviewed Huber. After like 3 or 4 weeks, he was able to afford to move out on their EAP program. So.
Let's get a working group together and see if we can develop some type of proposal. What are our volunteers, Tom, your volunteer, if you'd be willing to do that. Bill, would you jump in on that?
This issue was it last Wednesday?
I wanna say for 1 hour or so.
And we did discuss some of these issues, though.
And we looked at the policy changes for the Huber program to make it more amenable, but as the judge said, with the cost of them.
I think what would be
let's-
helpful for him, if the sheriff could be there, I think the problem is the people who are meeting, they meet, and then they have an idea of what it's gonna be or gets taken back to him, and then, so I'm already hearing things today that I didn't hear from that meeting, I wasn't here for the meeting, but, the sheriff's the one who ultimately makes the decision, so if he could be at the table, it would save a lot of time
Correct.
instead of going back and forth.
Is there a way to leverage some of your state sponsored employment programs like Northwest SEP or DDR? I know that they had a grant at one time that was specifically for people that have been in the prison system. I don't remember whether it was after release or whatever, but that program had a lot of problems, mostly trying to find employers and it was limited to who the participants could be, but DVR might be able to do some things.
Well, because the criminal conviction for felony qualifies as a disability under the law.
Yeah.
And so they do qualify. There are a few exceptions, but for the most part, DPR actually accept that.
We're gonna have to move along.
Sorry.
Let me leave this open. Next week, I will reach out and send an email and see if we can get some people involved to address specifically the dollars and cents involved, and I'll touch base with the sheriff and see if we can get him part of that. And arrange something and maybe we can develop a proposal to go forward to deal with that. And Emily, would you be willing to participate in that also? I know you've got nothing else to do in this world. Okay, so we got three and I'll reach out to the sheriff and see. Ashley, do you think that you would be available for that or helpful in that at all? Or?
I mean, I could be available. I don't know that I'd be helpful.
Well, you're always helpful.
That, but
So let's move on to our next item and we'll leave that at that. And then Monday I will reach out to the sheriff and others and see if we can move forward on that. Embrace,
Yeah, hello.
welcome.
Thank you. Hi, folks who don't know me, my name is Missy. I am the Housing Program Director at Embrace. This, I don't think is that big of a topic, basically just that there's been some transitions at our agency. So I know usually it was either Kendra Curlin or Fawn Ackerman who was attending this space. Fawn has taken another job with a different agency and Kendra's on maternity leave. And so she'll be returning soon, end of October, early November. And so in the meantime, we have some fill-in advocates who are doing a lot of what you may have seen them out in the community doing. So they would be the ones who, if there's a response to the jail, they would be the ones who are responding. We already had one advocate fill out the orientation information for the jail, and we may do another one. And then just with court accompaniment too. So there may be some new faces that we're seeing, but that's kind of the big change in Ross County. So just kind of waiting for Kendra to come back.
Okay. Is there anything that this group can help you with?
I think just know that there may be some new folks, new
Okay.
faces,
Sure.
and we're doing our best to get them trained, but they're all advocates. They just are taking on a little bit of the program coordinators roles. And then as well, you may see me and then my counterpart Cassandra. We used to be the program coordinators in Russ County, so it may be kind of weird to see us again, but we'll be trying to fill in for Kendra while she is having time with baby.
Okay. Mr. Green or Ashley, Truancy Corp.
Well, I don't think we've had a referral to truancy court within the last year. We have received some truancy referrals from the schools. Those go through the intake process. And what we've seen is for issues maybe of age or issues of specific identified needs, we've been plugging those individuals into other programs that address underlying issues that are causing absenting behaviors. So we haven't had what we've classified as an appropriate referral for truancy court for probably a year or more.
so there's nobody in truancy.
There is nobody currently in truancy court.
So you haven't had any referrals, or you haven't had any appropriate referrals? I don't know what that means.
We haven't had anybody that we determined that at intake was an appropriate candidate for truancy court. Through the intake identifying needs, and we've had several of our referrals that we received have been like elementary school age kids. We've been plugging them into other programs to address like the underlying needs that they have that address to issues that predated the absentee behaviors causing the behavior.
You said the other programs that deal with the underlying issues, what would those be?
Could be like a CCS referral,
Children long-term support.
children long-term support, things like that.
Do you have any data on the success of those that are being converted? In other words, are those girls in services, et cetera, whatever that alternative version is to truancy court? Because I remember at the last meeting we had with all the schools in our countywide truancy meeting, that was one of the concerns was there was very little or no data coming back to the schools as to whether or not those conversions short of truancy court were working, or what was what the alternatives that they were being directed to were. But my concern is it working? Are those that are being screened out from truancy court not recidivating truancy?
We have very low recidivism rates when we have to do
Refer
referrals.
somebody to,
We can grab the numbers from the
Whatever.
report.
is that addressing that? Whatever is determined at intake. So that they're not truancy.
Yeah, to actually, well, we have pretty low recidivism rates kind of across the board, but specific to truancy, I don't know that I've seen a referral from the school district for habitual truancy for at least 2 years.
Do we believe there may be an issue with the referrals just not?
Sometimes.
Not,
Sometimes,
Not an issue, yeah.
or not being made, or the timeliness of those referrals has definitely been an issue that we've talked about and we continue to talk to the schools about.
We're finding a lot of these families who are struggling to get kids to school. The parents themselves need support. And when they're enrolled in CCS, they have parent advocates, parent support, mental health services, whether they're struggling with AODA, those might be some services. So it's really those underlying issues, and it has proven to be effective in giving the parents the tools to get those kids to school. And if the child is having anxiety for going to school, those children's long-term support and CCS services have shown to improve their attendance as well. Just through the case management with those workers.
Anything else? Any further questions?
I just want to say, I don't think it's a good idea to have elementary school kids in truancy. So,
Right.
so I completely agree that that's a good route to go, but we spent an awful lot of time coming up with a whole policy, procedure, everything on truancy court before when we met. And it was good, in my opinion. There was a checklist for the schools to go through to make sure everything was followed, because, you know, from a DA perspective, we get to trying to litigate anything with truancy and find out that none of the steps of the statute had been followed, so cases weren't successful. But that kind of has all gone by the wayside, along with this quarterly meeting from the schools.
So that definitely is not going by the wayside. We still actively use those checklists that were developed, you know, identifying what the statutory range is for the school's responsibility.
Policy was to be more consistent in how truancy was handled, and to the point that we even went through a resolution of developing an ordinance so that the county was the one issuing the citations, so that, because otherwise we had people who were going through formal adjudications through the county, but then in the city, they weren't. And so that would be held, would be all more consistent on how they were handled. And my question is, I had like 3 people in truancy court, and then we weren't done with them, and all of a sudden we just weren't having truancy court anymore. But, and I didn't get anything back saying we decided to stop and send this child through this, or, so I think it's worth taking a look back at that policy again in how, and that was didn't address elementary age kids at all. That was kind of left to Cjcc, which I think is better with what you guys explained, but any other ones, I think we should look at that again, because we did spend, I don't know, probably close to 2 years working on that, wasn't it? Or more, 3 years.
And we can go back and look at the numbers too, and the ages of the kiddos that have been referred, because we track all of that stuff internally, so we can look at that.
Yeah, and then, you know, working with the school, that we're not getting referrals in May, because we can't do anything over the summer. Or getting the referrals after over 100 days of being truant, 180.
I did talk to the superintendent, and the new superintendent, I did bring that up at our last safety meeting, that you should look at getting a countywide meeting set up to address some of these issues, because he's brand new to this district, so, and I think Bruce has a new,
Bruce has got a new one too.
maybe they're all, aren't they? So,
Yeah,
Because Mark Sanders.
Well, thank you for it.
well, and he did say he was gonna start looking into try to get a countywide meeting set up, so that would be where this needs to be talked about.
And we've talked about that as well.
Yeah, they all have meetings again.
They do,
We had
all three of them.
Before. Sets things down.
It does. There's been a lot of turnover in the administrative roles in schools for 2-3 years.
Do you see that as a positive or a negative?
I just a function.
Okay. Anything else on Cjcc? All right, I wanted to bring the group up to date a little bit on the progress at teen court or the situations on teen court. Right now, I've got 7 active teen court cases that are working on sanctions. Nobody completed sanctions during the last month, and there's a pretty good reason for that. A lot of the violations now, as Kevin will say, has to do with vaping, nicotine, and or THC. That's a significant increase over the last year. What my teen court panel has realized is that they were being a little soft, so they've increased the level of sanctions and or community service and research that they have to do as a result of those violations. Anybody that has been referred for vaping nicotine has to go through the Escape the Vape program, which Cheyenne has run. It's been a very impactful program, so that's been successful. And then the THC, they have to go, in addition to that, they have to go through the Prime for Life program. There's 2 levels of the Prime for Life, one in alcohol and one in THC. The training I had on the THC one very much mirrors the alcohol as far as going through the book. So it's possible to run both programs at the same time and address both issues, which I have scheduled for the 20th, Saturday. That's an 8-hour program that we run on informative on the risk of both alcohol and THC. I've got 7 respondents coming to that program at this point. I've got 6 cases that are pending right now, so that moves me clear into November before I get them through teen court, because for confidentiality reasons, I can only run one at a time through the teen court, and I only run it on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays, Tuesday evening. I try to add an extra day in to speed that up to get them through a little bit faster, but I found out that my teen court panel, the kids that serve are willing to put in or unable to put in the extra time. They're all volunteers. So I appreciate them coming, but I found by overloading them and they were involved in sports and other activities that I started losing panel members. So I didn't want to do that. I've got teen court next month scheduled for September 9th and 23rd. August or October, I'm booked up. November, which is normally the month I take off as much vacation time as possible, I am still going to run the teen court on those particular days because I just don't want to stretch it out that far. And it's evening and dark by then, so it's not a big deal anyway. Teen traffic, I've seen some significant increases there recently now. I don't know if that's as a result of the newer officers in the sheriff's department perhaps being a little more aggressive in enforcement. So I ran that through. I ran 4 through this last month. All teen traffic violators, in addition to teen court and their research projects and community service officers, I have to go through the victim impact panel, which is victims of accidents and or rescue squad member, and we've got some pretty good programs running out there. I've got a total of 6 active cases for that right now. And I've got 7 coming through the Prime for Life program on the 20th. So that's kind of a rundown. Right now, as compared to last year, I've got 33 people registered so far this year, had 26 in all of 2024 and 24 in all of 2023. So there's a pretty marked increase over this past year. The only higher year was the first year I did it, and that was 36 for the total for 2020. So we're probably gonna surpass that, I think, by the time we have court next month, we'll probably surpass that easily, so. Significant increases as far as teen court goes. The ones that I do have challenges with are probably same type of people that you have challenges with. The truancy, it's more of a parent problem than it is a teen problem. To the point that my teen court panel asked me the other day if they could sanction the father, not did that. So they're pretty much the same issues. So all in all, it's been a busy year so far, and I don't see it backing off any at this point. Probably a third of the cases I now have come out of municipal court, as Judge Anderson is an advocate of teen court, so I picked up probably a third of the cases that we have overall of that, which kind of makes sense because 3 schools in the county, so it works out pretty well. So, any questions? All right, we're gonna finish.
Let me make a suggestion.
Yes, sir.
And I have no data or anything to share, but regularly in the last several months, the county has been receiving notifications of potential settlements in the opioid lawsuits. And, you know, and there's dollars attached to those settlements. I think maybe the county has already received some settlement dollars, but my thought is that, you know, maybe this group should be looking at putting together a proposal to see if we can't come up with a way of accessing those dollars for some programs that would be relevant to the services that Cjcc is interested in. And it seemed like we get a head start on that by the time the county starts talking about what are we gonna do with those dollars. Maybe Ashley's got them spent already. I don't know.
Oh, it's all
Yeah.
Those dollars are sitting there. Right now, I believe it's like 200 and some $1,000. I believe that's what's there, but that was the conversation that Jeremy was having about a school resource officer and bringing back the life skills into the elementary school. So that's kind of what he was thinking. But I can send out the allowable cost manual to everybody, and everybody can review it as to how those dollars can be spent, and if anybody does have some, light bulbs going off as to how we can utilize that money in Rose County, by all means, because right now it is just sitting there.
You know, either the, you know, our group looks at some ideas or somebody tells us their ideas and our group would support them.
I know at one time when Jeremy was still here, the topic of conversation occurred in running the Prime for Life program at the various schools. And, obviously I wouldn't be able to run it all in a 1 8-hour block at the time, but, we could break that up into 2-hour segments and what have you. I think that could very well be appropriate because the program focuses not on punishment, but prevention more than anything else. So it would sure be nice if we could address some of these things and had the dollars available to turn around and say, let's do that pre-violation. So we're not waiting for the kids to get their citations.
Just as an observation from the tobacco settlements from many, many years ago, the early years of the tobacco settlements, the allowable cost list was pretty narrow. And for some reason or other, after a few years of that, they just started looking the other way, and all of a sudden, we were blacktopping the parking lot or something with those dollars because they just kept reducing or increasing the list of things that you could use it for. It really lost its primary focus of tobacco use of vaping. And it would not surprise me if the same thing could happen here. People work pretty hard to get those lawsuits put together and get the dollars coming in. But then after a while, they just lose interest, and they look at that as another pot of money that they can try to access for something else. And so we need to get in on the ground floor, and I think before competition against two grades.
I know somebody had mentioned once about, the dream or the idea of coming up with some sort of edge-based program. Like right now, Edge run is offered to fifth graders, but there are a lot of counties that have to start targeting them sooner. So it was brought up that they may need to start offering these edge-based programs to second graders. That's how bad it is getting.
I really believe, and Kevin can verify this, what we're seeing a lot is at the start of middle school and the big programs are, it's, by the time they're getting in high school, they've already
They're, yeah.
gone past that stage and moved on to other things. So the middle school is the big concentration. But yes,
I would also ask, what's going on with that pot of money on the rebates the counties get from the intoxicated driver forfeitures that come back to the county? I mean, we've been talking about that for 8-9 years. And as far as I know, that money's never been used for any of the projects that. And it's still available to the county.
well, actually, he just paid for the Friend for Life 420, the THC books, out of which grant did that come out of?
That was from our community intervention program, because that's targeted for youth prevention. That's where those funds came from.
Okay.
But we're talking about trying to find resources for some of these employment programs for. And then we're sitting really.
All right. Anything else? I will reach out to a number of people on Monday. Perhaps Mr. Willingham, I'll reach out to you also on some ideas of drafting a proposal on that money, and maybe you and Ashley and I can get together, come up with something. So, all right, next date for our next meeting. Anybody have a problem with the 24th of September at 8 a.m.?
I'm not
The
here.
24th to the 25th.
I'm sorry, 25th, I lied.
I'm not here.
You're not here.
Mm-mm.
Where are you gonna be?
At the Wisconsin Recovery Court Coordinator Convention.
Oh my,
And I'm not appearing by Zoom because we are doing a poverty simulation.
oh,
That's
okay.
Yeah.
I got my kid taken away.
Did you? So I will not be available. I will be.
The irony.
Wait a minute. You have to be available next month because it's the program review.
Not gonna be here.
Hey,
All
Anthony,
right.
am I gonna be there next month?
And Emily won't be here either.
But do we know if Emily's?
Well, I have to read, Emily potentially will not be here either because she'll be in Oklahoma City at the Will Rogers, at a convention.
Yeah,
Will Emily actually be?
I haven't.
I extremely dislike her for that fact. Judge Stewart. Next month is program review and we can't do the 25th. Do you have any other preference? What days are you gonna be there?
I'm gone the 22nd through the 26th.
Okay.
Emily's gone the 22nd through the 26th as well.
Can we do the third Thursday a month, which would be the 18th?
I'm trying to tell you something. Well, thanks, Steve.
Judge, I have the control of that chair right here.
Yeah. He almost hit the rocket launch button, so.
Does anybody have an issue with the 18th?
So Judge does have beginning at 10 o'clock, otherwise she would be free. According to the CCC.
As of right now.
We have a motion for the 18th, please. Judge Stewart moves, second. Ashley, second. All in favor? Aye. Carried.
And take a donut, otherwise Chief Julian's gonna take it back to the farm.
We don't eat donuts.
Oh, fine.
You don't call them.
They don't call them.
There's more donuts eaten on the third floor yearly than there is on the first floor. I can tell you that for free.
All right, thank you,
And
everybody.
maybe even second
Wait,
floor.
we have to adjourn?
What?
Did you move to adjourn or just to set the next day?
Oh, yeah, we moved to.
Okay, cool.
We're just- We're not adjourning, we're just leaving.
We're good?
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.